speak about God, God is general. Most people don't have any problem with God. You can talk all day about God. You know, God bless you, God is good. But it's Jesus Christ. When you mention Jesus Christ, that sets a dividing line. Because God can be, in many people's ideas of God, or, you know, they're just not right. You know, their God allows them to do this, this, and this. Their God doesn't have a problem with them stealing. You know, that's because that God doesn't exist. It's a figment of their imagination. But when you say Jesus, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. Now all of a sudden you've drawn a line in the sand. You see, so what I try to do is get people to consider Jesus. Okay? You know, people say God, in the Old Testament, He was mean, He was cruel, He did all these things. Okay. You see, they want to, but have you ever read the Bible? No, I haven't, but I've heard, you know. But I say, consider Jesus. I say, you want to know what God is like? Well, God sent His Son. And His Son, it magnifies and it is the express image of the Father. Jesus is the express image of the Father. Like if you took a ring and you took a piece of soft clay and you pressed an image into it, and you took it out, well, that image is exactly like the ring, right? He's the express image of the Father. That's in Hebrews 1. You can see that. You know, and when you begin to look at what Jesus did, Jesus demands a response. You know, like I said, God is general. But they who honor the Son, they honor the Father. And if you dishonor the Son, you dishonor the Father. And here in John chapter 8, the whole chapter is wonderful. But I want to start in verse 12. Then spake Jesus again unto them. Now remember the situation that just happened. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery. And then Jesus put a stop to them. He said, whoever is without sin, let him cast the first stone. And then they left. And then he said to her, where are your accusers? Has no man condemned you? And she said, no man, Lord. And then Jesus said, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. And so in verse 12, then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world, and he that follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. You know, the light of life. Jesus is light, and Jesus is truth. And we're going to see that a little further down. You know, when I was in the world, I walked in darkness. I could see, but I walked in darkness. I did not have the light of life. And when you look at people, it comes to a matter of light. Are they walking in light? Are we walking in light as believers? Now we have the light of, if you've been born again, you have Jesus in you, and He is the light of the world. But we need to be walking in light. You know, 1 John talks about walking in the light as He is in the light. Right? Let's hold our place here and just look over at 1 John for a moment. You know, 1 John, it deals with lies, deception, darkness. It also deals with light and truth and truthfulness. In 1 John chapter 1, he says, let's start at verse 1. That which is from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked upon, and our hands have handled, of the word of life. For the life was manifested, and we have seen it, and bear witness, and showed unto you that eternal life, which was with the Father, and was manifested unto us. That which we have seen and heard, we declare unto you, that you may also have fellowship with us. And truly, our fellowship is with the Father, and with His Son, Jesus Christ. John is saying that which is from the beginning, we've seen. You know, John actually saw He handled him. He touched him. His eyes looked upon him concerning this word of life. And he says, that which we've seen and heard, we're declaring unto you now. You know, this letter was written to believers. He says, we're declaring this message unto you. And then in verse 4, he says, and these things we write unto you that your joy may be full. Your joy may be full. Where's your joy at today? Your joy tank. Is it on the full mark? Is it on the empty mark? Is it halfway? Is the little gas light come on? You know, when you're getting low? I like fullness of joy, right? You know, in Psalm 16 he speaks about God. He says, in your presence is what? Fullness of joy. And at your right hand are pleasures forevermore. The Son of God is at the right hand of the Father. And so then he says, this then is the message which we have heard of him and declaring to you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. So here you see light again. Light compared to darkness. You know, we choose to walk in the light. That's a choice that we make as believers. Well, the light's in us, but we still need to walk in the light. Do you agree with that? How do we walk in darkness? I mean, what? Okay, well, denying Christ is definitely walking in darkness. What other ways can a believer walk in darkness? Following the world? Is it possible for a believer in Jesus Christ to follow the world? Well, Paul said about Demas, he says, Demas has forsaken me, having loved this present world. Now, whether Demas was a believer or not, it seemed like he was. Maybe he fooled Paul, I don't know.